Hello everyone, Kevin Hunter here with Basin Safety, your premier safety training and safety equipment supplier in North Dakota. If you have questions about other training courses or safety-related supplies needed for your particular company, please visit our website at basinsafetyus.com or call today 701-503-4853 for immediate staff assistance. Before I begin, I want to make sure you are aware that this training session is intended for what's known as non-qualified individuals. To explain, in OSHA and industry standards, a non-qualified person is an employee who does not have the training, knowledge, or authorization to perform certain hazardous tasks, particularly those involving electrical work, rigging, or equipment operation. For you, this training is simply about awareness. This doesn't mean if you're non-qualified that you can't work at all, but it does mean your role is limited to what you've been trained and approved to do. Anything outside of that scope is restricted until you've gone through the required training and certification to become a qualified person. So essentially, if you've not already gone through qualified training on these pieces of equipment, don't consider this non-qualified training course to be your opportunity to operate the equipment or use the rigging without supervision that we're discussing today. This first section covers non-qualified safety training for forklifts. Forklifts are the workhorses of warehouses, factories, and construction sites, but they're also one of the leading causes of workplace injuries and fatalities. Tip-overs, struck-by accidents, and unsafe loads happen every single day, and almost all of them are preventable. The truth is, a forklift isn't just a piece of equipment. It's a powerful machine that demands skill, respect, and constant attention. In today's training, we're going to break down the key rules, common mistakes, and proven safety practices every operator needs to follow. Because when it comes to forklift safety, cutting corners isn't just dangerous, it can cost lives. Some training objectives for forklift safety: understand powered industrial truck forklift safety, implement safe operations of forklifts. For aerial lift, man lift safety, understand aerial lift, man lift safety requirements, implement safe operations of man lifts. And for basic rigging safety, understand requirements for rigging equipment and tools, and implement safe rigging operations. First up, industrial trucks. Powered industrial truck and forklift types. OSHA recognizes 11 different designations of industrial trucks divided into 7 classes. Each type of vehicle has specific safeguards. The employer must select the proper type of vehicle to match the hazard profile of the work environment. 7 classes of powered industrial trucks. Class 1, electric motor rider trucks. Class 2, electric motor narrow aisle trucks. Class 3, electric motor hand trucks. Class 4, internal combustion trucks with cushion tires. Class 5, internal combustion trucks with pneumatic tires. Class 6, electrical and internal combustion engine tractors. And Class 7, rough terrain forklift trucks. And to the right here, we have a forklift classes, a visual guide. Equipment selection. It is important to select the type of vehicle that is appropriate for your work environment and load. Refer to Table N1 in OSHA and Instruction 1910.178 for guidelines on appropriate equipment selection. All labels on a vehicle must be legible. Forklifts must also be labeled as being ANSI certified. Modifications and additions. Any modifications or additions that affect capacity or safe operation must have the written approval of the manufacturer. All marking plates, tags, or decals shall be changed accordingly. Some atmospheric requirements. Powered industrial trucks can cause fires or other dangers in certain types of environments. Powered industrial trucks are not allowed to be used in atmospheres containing hazardous concentrations of acetylene, butadiene, ethyl oxide, hydrogen, propylene oxide, acetaldehyde, cyclopropane, diethyl ether, ethylene, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine. Section 1910.178 has specific requirements about atmospheric requirements. If your workplace has atmospheric contaminants, consult the rules for proper vehicle selection. Vehicle stability. Longitudinal stability is the truck's resistance to turning over forward or rearward. Lateral stability is the truck's resistance to overturning sideways. Notice how the load center illustrated on the right is outside the stability triangle, which will cause the vehicle to tip over. Dynamic stability. Dynamic stability is the effect that dynamic forces have on the load center when the machine is moving, braking, cornering, lifting, tilting, and lowering loads. Dynamic stability varies depending on the size of the load, speed of motion, and angle. There are no specific guidelines for managing dynamic stability. Always drive slowly and carefully and keep loads low. Some equipment components. In the rear is the auxiliary seat brake. Then there's the seat belt, the horn which is on the wheel, overhead guard which is above you, lift cylinder which is on the main mast, the tilt cylinder, the mast itself, and the forks. Safe vehicle operations. Using sound judgment can be your best protection when using powered industrial trucks. Always drive slowly and carefully. Your speed dramatically affects your load center and its position in the stability triangle. When traveling with a load, always keep it low. You see the picture on the right might be a bit of genius, but also very dangerous. Equipment inspection. The operator should perform a brief vehicle inspection prior to every shift. Include these basic inspection items as well as any required by the owner's manual. And to the right here is an illustration of an operator's daily checklist for powered industrial truck and forklift. Working on and around vehicles. Do not drive trucks up to people standing or sitting in front of fixed objects. People should not pass below elevated portions of the truck. Only vehicles designated for carrying a passenger may have one. Arms and legs may not be placed outside the mass or the running lines of the vehicle while operating it. Some vehicle entry and exit examples. Always enter and leave a powered industrial truck facing the vehicle. If a sit-down vehicle tips over, remain seated in the operator's seat and lean away from the direction of the fall. If a stand-up rider truck tips over, step backwards off the vehicle to get clear. Most people attempt to jump clear of a tipping vehicle and are crushed by the overhead guard. Leaving vehicles unattended. A powered industrial truck is unattended when the operator is greater than 25 feet from it or the vehicle is not in his view. When a vehicle is unattended, it must have its controls neutralized, have load engaging means fully lowered, have its power shut off, have its brakes set, have its wheels blocked if it is on the incline. Unattended vehicles must be shut down and have controls neutralized. Traveling with the vehicle. When traveling with the vehicle, maintain 3 lengths from the vehicle ahead of you. Yield the right-of-way for emergency vehicles. Slow the vehicle and sound the horn when crossing areas with obstructed views. Cross railroad tracks diagonally when possible. Ascend and descend grades slowly with the load always uphill. When descending a grade, reverse downhill with the uphill in front of the powered industrial truck. Pedestrians have the right-of-way. Always be alert for them. For loading, only stable and safely arranged loads should be handled. Loads must be well below the rated capacity of the vehicle. Trucks with attachments must be operated as partially loaded trucks even when not carrying a load. Before engaging a load, make sure it is below the rating of your vehicle. For maintenance, vehicles not in a safe operating condition must be removed from service. Only authorized personnel can make repairs. Repairs to fuel and ignition systems must be made in designated areas. The battery must be disconnected before repairs on the electrical system can occur. Training requirements. This is not a forklift operator training course. No one is allowed to drive powered industrial trucks until they have been trained, certified, and authorized by the employer. The minimum age to drive one is 18 years of age. Trainees must be always supervised while operating. Longitudinal stability is the truck's resistance to turning over forward or rearward. Lateral stability is the truck's resistance to overturning sideways. Dynamic stability is the effect that dynamic forces have on the load center when the machine is moving, braking, cornering, lifting, tilting, and lowering loads. The minimum age to drive a powered industrial truck is 18 years of age. Employees must be trained and evaluated in forklift operations prior to operating them alone. Next up, non-qualified aerial lift safety training. Every year, thousands of workers are seriously injured or worse because of mistakes made on aerial lifts. These machines may look simple, but they're among the most dangerous pieces of equipment on a job site if you don't respect the hazards. Falls, tip-overs, electrocution, crushing accidents, they happen fast and often without warning. That's why today's training is so important. We're going to cover the critical rules, real-life examples, and safe work practices you need to know before you ever step onto an aerial lift. Because when it comes to working at height, safety isn't just optional, it's about survival. Some basic aerial lift safety training. Some accident prevention. Ensure a competent person conducts frequent inspections of the worksite. Number 2, only allow qualified trained personnel to operate aerial lifts. Number 3, train each employee in the recognition and avoidance of unsafe conditions and regulations applicable to his or her work environment, like the example here to the right. Number 4, prohibit unauthorized persons from operating aerial lifts. Number 5, ensure personnel always stay inside of the lift and use proper fall protection. Ensure a ground crew is available and trained to operate ground controls. Aerial lift requirements. Aerial lifts must be compliant with ANSI Standard A92.2-2018. Aerial lifts must have the following markers: manufacturer's identification, name, address, and contact information, the model and serial number for lift identification, the rated load capacity, maximum weight, including personnel, tools, and materials, operating instructions for safe operation guidelines, warning labels, electrical hazards, fall protection, tilt warnings, and load distribution. ANSI and OSHA compliance, indication of standards met, emergency instructions, emergency lowering and shutdown procedures, inspection and maintenance tags, last inspection maintenance date and restrictions if out of service, control identification, clearly labeled platform and ground controls, tire pressure if applicable on the vehicle, recommended pressure for pneumatic tires, hydraulic and electrical safety, warnings for hydraulic and electrical systems. Ensure all markings are durable, legible, and visible to operators. Part 2, Aerial Lift Training Requirements. Training requirements: only employees who have received training regarding the inspection, application, and operation of aerial devices, including hazardous management, may operate an aerial device. The company must keep records of the training. Here's an example to the right. Companies should certify that their employees can do these tasks safely. Operating different or new equipment. When an already trained operator needs to operate a new piece of equipment, one they haven't been evaluated on, the following must be verified. They must know the location of the operations manual. Number 2, they must understand the controls and limitations of the equipment. Third, they must know how to properly inspect the equipment. And fourth, they must be evaluated for skill on the equipment itself. Part 3, Aerial Lift Inspection and Maintenance Records. Frequent inspection requirements. Number 1, check operating controls and associated mechanisms for conditions interfering with proper operation. Number 2, check visual and audible safety devices for malfunctions. Number 3, check hydraulic or pneumatic systems for observable deterioration or excessive leakage. Check connections for leakage. Check the hoses for seepage and deterioration. Inspection requirements continued. Number 4, check fiberglass and other insulating components for visible damage or contamination. Number 5, check for missing or illegible operational and instructional markings. Number 6, check electrical systems for malfunction, signs of excessive deterioration, dirt, and moisture accumulation. All instructional and warning labels must be legible. Continued here with point 7. Perform a visual inspection of all bolts, pins, fasteners, and locking devices for looseness or deformation. Any suspected items should be examined and tested, and a determination must be made by a qualified person if they are a safety hazard. All unsafe items must be replaced or repaired before the aerial lift is used. Rusted and broken fasteners can cause serious equipment malfunction. Frequent inspection records. Records are not required for frequent inspections. If a safety violation is found during a frequent inspection, it must be reported in writing. That report and the record of the corrective action must be kept for at least 5 years. Maintenance requirements. Type and frequency of maintenance will be determined by the owner in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. The owner must train employees on inspection and maintenance of the aerial device in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. All maintenance must be done in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations. Aerial lift modifications. No modifications or additions that affect vehicle stability, mechanical, hydraulic, or electrical integrity, or safe operation may be made without prior written permission from the manufacturer. If these changes are made, the instructional markings must be changed accordingly. Part 4. Aerial lift operations. A pre-start inspection. Aerial devices must be inspected prior to each day's operation. The operator must perform the inspection in accordance with the frequent inspection requirements. All unsafe items must be replaced or repaired before use. Here's an example of an inspection sheet to the right. Weather conditions to be aware of. Before using aerial lifts outdoors, weather conditions should be checked. Lifts should not be used when there are storms, high winds, or the possibility of lightning. Work area hazard survey. Before an aerial device is used, the work area must be surveyed for hazards such as unstable soil or earth, holes, ditches, drop-offs and floor obstructions, debris, overhead obstructions, possible electrical contacts, presence of unauthorized persons. Aerial lifts may not be used unless these hazards are managed or eliminated. Potholes and ditches are hazardous and should be avoided. Protection from falling objects. Employees must wear hard hats. If there is a danger of falling objects from the platform, the area below must be barricaded and employees prevented from entering it. If employees need to access the areas beneath the platform, tow boards, screens, and canopies must be used to protect employees from falling object hazards. And if you see this sign to the right, caution, hard hats required in this area, of course, don your hard hat. Moving aerial lifts. When driving an aerial lift, the driver must avoid any surface that affects vehicle stability, maintain a safe distance from obstacles and overhead lines, maintain communication between the driver and operator, limit speed to a rate that is safe for the conditions of the surface. Vehicles should always be driven slowly and carefully. Working requirements. Employees must stand on the floor of the basket and cannot sit or climb on the guardrails or use other devices to establish work positions. A harness attached to the boom or basket must be worn. Harnesses should be connected to a lift structural member anchor point. Guardrails must be installed. Never exceed the load capacity of the aerial lift. Do you know what your aerial lift capacity is? Good thing to find out. Working requirements. The parking brake must be set while the boom is elevated. Wheel chocks must be installed before using an aerial lift on an incline. Aerial lift trucks should not be moved when the boom is elevated and workers are in the basket. In summary, all aerial lifts must be compliant with ANSI regulations. All operators must be trained and certified prior to operating an aerial lift. Frequent inspections must be performed daily prior to use. Periodic inspections are in-detail inspections that must be performed and recorded in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. Work on aerial lifts should not be performed during lightning conditions or heavy weather. The work area must be checked for hazards prior to using aerial lifts. Next up, non-qualified rigging safety training. Rigging is one of the most critical and dangerous tasks on a job site. A single mistake in choosing the wrong sling, ignoring a load's center of gravity, or rushing a lift can turn a routine job into a disaster in seconds. Every year, workers are injured and millions of dollars in equipment are lost because someone cut corners on rigging safety. That's why today's training matters. We're going to cover the fundamentals of safe rigging, real-world accidents you can learn from, and the right practices that keep both people and property safe. Because when it comes to lifting heavy loads, the margin for error is zero. Basic Rigging Pro. So some job site considerations. Authorized and qualified personnel must always pay close attention to all aspects of the job. work areas, rigging areas, and walking areas around intended lift areas to ensure nothing will impede the job. Inspect all rigging equipment prior to preparing to lift. Number 1, selecting your rigging. Knowledgeable personnel should select the rigging. Number 2, rigging condition must be of the appropriate type, have proper identification, and been inspected and is certified. And number 3, load limits, load weight, center of gravity, sling angle, side loading considerations, and gear capacity. Number 4, controlling the load. Tagline must be present and utilized, must be aware of failure possibility and location of personnel. Number 5, unfavorable conditions, high winds, temperature, ground conditions such as ice, mud, or water. The user's responsibility. Above the line illustrated here is the crane operator's responsibility. Below the line is the rigger's responsibility. The rigger's responsibilities, UFC. Utilize, follow, and conduct. Utilize appropriate rigging gear suitable for overhead lifting. Follow industry standards and the manufacturer's recommendations. Conduct regular inspection and maintenance of the rigging gear. Inspection requirements. Daily inspection should be performed at the beginning of each shift or before initial use of the crane, each shift by the operator or appointed person. Some notes about slings. Sling capacity varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. User must look at individual sling capacity tag to determine safe lifting capacity of that sling. If the tag is not readable or missing, do not use it. Inspect sling before each day's use and as often as necessary during the day. Sharp edges can sever a sling immediately when the load is tensioned. Use softeners or padding on corners. Here's some examples of types of wire rope slings. Wire rope capacities. Sling capacity decreases as the angle increases. 30 degrees, 886 pounds. 45 degrees, 707 pounds. 60 degrees, 500 pounds. A sling capable of lifting 1,000 pounds in a 30-degree vertical basket hitch can only lift 866 pounds at a 30-degree angle, or 707 pounds at a 45-degree angle, and 500 pounds at a 60-degree angle. Wire rope inspections. Inspect the wire rope to make sure it is lubricated and that none of the following conditions exist. Number 1, no kinks. 2, no broken or cut strands. 3, no bird caging. 4, no corrosion. 5, no core protrusion. And 6, no crushed sections of the rope. Type of wire rope sling damage. This example is a bird cage damage. Type of wire rope sling damage. Damage as a result of a kink in the wire rope. Synthetic slings. A synthetic sling is a type of lifting device made from durable synthetic materials such as nylon, polyester, or polypropylene designed to securely lift and transport loads. These slings are widely used in industries like construction, manufacturing, and logistics due to their flexibility, strength, and lightweight design. Synthetic slings must be inspected before each use for signs of wear, damage, or chemical degradation to ensure safe operation. Always adhere to manufacturer guidelines for load capacity and proper use. Chain slings. Only grade 8 or better alloy chain can be used for overhead lifting purposes. All chain is not rated the same. Chain must have a capacity tag attached to it. Chains will withstand more rough handling and abuse, but a chain with the same rated lifting capacity of wire rope will be much larger in diameter and heavier in weight. Chains must be inspected daily before use and as often as necessary during use to assure safety. It is the rigger's responsibility to do the inspections. Some examples of chain slings. Rigging protection from cutting or slipping. Softeners, padding, or use of blocking in these examples. Basic sling operating practices. This is according to ANSI B30.9. Each day before use, the sling, all fastenings, and attachments shall be inspected for damage and defects by a competent person. Additional inspections shall be performed during sling use as often as necessary to assure the safety of the operation. Basic sling operating practices, again ANSI B30.9. Replacement criteria. Severe localized abrasion or scraping. 10 randomly distributed broken wires in one rope lay or 5 broken wires in one rope strand in one rope lay. Evidence of heat damage like cut with a torch. Kinking, crushing, bird caging, or any damage resulting in distortion of the rope structure. Damaged, distorted, or field welded hooks. Damaged or worn end attachments. Some safety factors. To guard against failure of a wire rope in service, the actual load on the rope should only be a fraction of the breaking strength. The safety factor includes reduced capacity of the rope below its stated breaking strength due to wear, fatigue, corrosion, abuse, and variations in size and quality. Operational safety. Make sure the rigging is in good condition and that safe rigging practices are applied. Ensure rigging is appropriate for the load size, shape, and weight. Operational safety. Before lifting, ensure that everyone is clear of any pinch or crush zones. When starting to lift a load, only lift it a few inches off the ground to verify hoist brake is functioning properly before continuing with the lift. Operational safety. Do not overload the crane or hoist. Make sure the combined weight of the lifter and load does not exceed the rated load capacity of the crane or hoist. Refuse to make lift if you are unsure of any issues. Do not proceed until all issues are resolved. Operator is in control of the lift and complete authority to stop lift for any safety reason. Operational safety. Only allow one person to give hand signals. Do not ride or allow other people to do so. Operational safety. To pick up a load, direct the crane and hoist hook directly above the load to eliminate the possibility of side loading and minimize load swing. Operational safety. Always maintain a clear view of the crane path so you can observe any obstacles or personnel in your path. Operational safety. Never leave a suspended load unattended. If you must leave the area, lower the load to the ground before doing so. Operational safety. Moving a load. Do not lift loads over people. Stay out from under the load and make sure other people remain at a distance. Do not become distracted while traveling. If you need to speak with someone, cease operation of the crane immediately. Operational safety. Moving a load. Stay clear while moving a load. Do not allow the load to swing. Use a rod to push the load or tag line to pull the load. Exercise caution with sheet lifters. Be sure to keep the load level. Tilting the lifter could cause the load to slide off the lifter. These are some examples of standard hand signals. The hand signal on the left is to lower the load, pointing down. Hand signal on the right, pointing up, is to hoist the load. More standard hand signals. Hoist load slowly. That's with the finger pointing up to the hand covering above. Lower load slowly, as illustrated on the right. More standard hand signals. Bridge travel left, indicating to the left of the person's hand, and bridge travel right, indicating to the right of the person's hand. More standard hand signals. Trolley travel left, illustrating the thumb to the left, and trolley travel right, illustrating the thumb to the right. And here's where multiple trolleys are in use, holding up 2 fingers to indicate 2. Here's a standard hand signal for stop. That's basically a wave across the body, moving from right to left. This concludes this basin safety training module. If you didn't pause the video at various points to run through some practical exercises, please do so at this time. Just like I learned as a soldier back in the Army basic training days, and this is especially true when it comes to safety, practice makes perfect. Practice helps to retrain your natural habits so you perform better when it really counts. Those precious few seconds between knowing exactly what to do versus wondering, running around like a headless chicken screaming the sky is falling, can be the difference between life and death. We sincerely appreciate your attendance on this video. Using your smartphone, please find Basin Safety on Google and please write us a review on this course. Your kind response helps others find similar quality content, and we thank you in advance. This is what the review tab will look like when you get there. Just click on that review tab in the window and leave us your feedback. If you didn't already know, 5 stars is excellent, which definitely was our goal in producing this content for you. Did we hit that lofty goal? Be sure to let us know. In conclusion, you can be the toughest worker on site, but if you ignore safety, even a rake handle can take you down. Stay sharp, stay safe, because no one looks that cool in a neck brace. I'm Kevin Hunter. Thank you for your attention during the training video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for watching.